right, there we go. Hey everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another great day of FileMaker training at fmtraining.tv. I'm the creator of fmtraining.tv, where you can learn all about the FileMaker platform and learn how to build better FileMaker applications for you, your customers, your organization. This broadcast is completely free to everyone and is being broadcast in high definition to Discord, YouTube, and to Twitch. This broadcast is being recorded, which is really great. Of course, we might clean up the recording a little bit, so if we make a malfunction during the live stream, then of course we reserve the right to clean that up on the recording later on. However, because it's a live broadcast, we encourage you to ask questions. In fact, some people get aggravated when there's this dialogue with you and we ask questions. We want questions. If you have a question, odds are other people have the question too. And so I want to thank everyone for logging in. Ken and TK and Dave One, Dave Learning, Ed, Elzo, Carol, Jake, Mike, all of you, welcome once again to another great broadcast. Now, as a reminder, if you want to check out the upcoming broadcast, go to fmtraining.tv, press the left tab for the live button. You can see the upcoming broadcast schedule. That's pretty awesome. Additionally, if you want to help support this channel, right? We always say this, this broadcast is brought to you by fmtraining.tv, bringing you the greatest and the most entertaining FileMaker training videos available. So the idea is that if you want to help support the channel, make sure you check out our on-demand video bundles. We have videos that cover the latest version of FileMaker. We have videos that cover the deploy course. In fact, we used to sell the courses individually. Anymore, it's just much simpler to sell a complete bundle for a low price. We do this on an annual basis. So if you buy one of the bundles, that really helps support the channel. It ensures that we can keep coming back every day, because this broadcast actually takes a lot of money to run. The people here don't work for free. As much as I would love that to be the case, they do want to get paid. So moving along, today's broadcast is being supported by the folks at the Los Osos office. That would be Haley Marie, Kristian Olsen, and the awesome coaching team down there. They're originating the broadcast. And so let's go ahead and cut over to them right now and get our guest speaker going as well.
Hello everybody, this is Nick Hunter today. So today I am in the driver's seat, and that is kind of weird because I'm not very often in the driver's seat. So welcome today to this session. We have the great Kristian with us that is going to teach us about the menu bar, right? So that's what we do, the virtual bars, and so it's awesome. You know, I love the button bars and stuff like that because I was there on the creation of those things. And so welcome everybody. So I'm in the driver's seat today. It's weird. It's great great feeling. I'm going to start monitoring all the chats on YouTube, Twitch, and if you want to go to the right side of the force, you can join us on Discord as well. So thank you very much. So Kristian, tell us everything about what you do today.
Well, thank you for the introduction, Nick. First of all, I think I can retire from FileMaker now that Nick said I'm great. I've reached my crowning achievement. You know what? I think it's actually fitting that you're here, Nick, because a lot of this demo is actually built on your shoulders, because I've got your button bar, I've got your slide technique, and if you do happen to look at the demo file, a number of those scripts are actually built directly from what you've got. So I'll go ahead and jump right into it here. And I appreciate your help, Nick, on monitoring the questions. I was a little tricky yesterday doing it on my own. So yesterday we spent some time just kind of going over the basics of virtual lists, and I didn't get a chance to really show everybody the demo very much. So I'm gonna do a very quick recap on the demo. I'm gonna show you how to install it, and then we're gonna do a teardown on it. So by all means, ask questions. If you're in Discord, I did share a bit.ly link so that you can download this file, and I'm sure we'll be sharing that as well afterwards. So very briefly, virtual tabs here is essentially, let's go to the regular one. essentially allows you to build limitless button bars that look like and mimic tabs with these arrows to toggle to as many different ones as you need to. This is useful if you have limited real estate. It's also nice because it does cache that data. The file is server enabled, so I'll show you how to configure it if you do have your file hosted, which I strongly recommend that you do. But outside of that, there's other things in here you can use. Yesterday, I also showed everybody that there's also the ability to, I got a copy, there's also the ability to go ahead and configure this with icons. And as I mentioned, this is very much built on the shoulders of Nick, who's got this in his Launchpad and other files of basically using a button bar to replace the tab, which I've heard you, Nick, say is basically like old technology. This is the new technology. Is that right?
Yeah, this is right. This is a new technology.
Perfect. All right. So that being shown, it's really simple and basic. Let me show you how to configure it into your file. And I want to have two kind of conversations, if you will, or presentations going on at the same time here. One of them is those of you who are a little bit on the shallow end of the pool, see this, want to use it, aren't necessarily virtualists or JSON experts. Fantastic. This should be easy for you to install. For those of you who are a bit more mastery on the virtualist, JSON, and some of the other great functions, there's a lot that you can do to configure and tear this down, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So you're going to get a file that looks like this, and inside of there will be a folder with a few different components. One of them is a demo of the solution itself. As we saw yesterday, very briefly, this is basically an ability to replicate or mimic the tabs that you would see in a solution like Starting Point, showing the total number of records, the name of the module, but the ability to toggle through these. This is highly configurable, so you can display 3 tabs, 4 tabs, 5, 6, but you have an infinite ability to continue to toggle to show more. Additionally, this will also come with the ability to install a version that has icons that will also increment over as you continue on. In this installation video, we're going to focus on the regular version of virtual tabs as it's easier to understand, and in the teardown, I'll give a better description of how the icon version of it works. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by getting this installed. Double-click on your installer, and that's going to come up. And when you go to click on the install, unlike my previous add-on, virtual menus, this one's going to prompt you with a choice between virtual tabs with icons or the regular virtual tabs. Again, for this presentation, we're going to focus on the easier implementation, which is the standard virtual tabs. When we click on that, we'll get our folder of XML that gets hidden into the computer for us. Just go ahead and close that and click close. For this presentation, I'm going to go ahead and use a copy of Starting Point, but you can use this in any solution that you have. Starting Point just really lends itself well because it already has the tab structure. In fact, I designed this for Starting Point, mimicking and copying the theme and style that's already in there. I've also got a couple steps here to help save a little bit of time, but I'll explain those when I get to them. So I'm going to start by going to an account like a module like Accounts. I'm going to edit Layout. I'm going to go to the Add-Ons tab, and I'm going to click the plus and look for the add-on that I just installed. If I scroll down, boom, there we go. We've got virtual tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and click on virtual tabs. I'm going to choose it, and this should go pretty quick. It's already installed. Now, this add-on, unlike some of the other ones you're going to see out there, has no tables, so you don't need to worry about the relationship graph. It just has a bunch of custom functions and a script library. But there's only one part of this that you actually have to configure. So I'm going to start by taking the tabs that we have on screen here and moving those out of my way. So I'm going to grab these tabs and I'm going to slide them over here. I'm going to go to our add-on bar. I'm going to drag the new set of tabs on. And you can spend some time to go ahead and position these, make them the size that you need. You might start by ungrouping them. So I'm going to do that and go ahead and make them tall enough. But you can sit and play around with that on yours. Now, depending on how your solution works, in Starting Point, if you double-click on the tabs, you're going to see that each of these tabs has a calculation. If you jump into there, there's a couple components that are consistent in all of these. The name of the tab if it's singular, the name of the tab if it's plural, and then a count of the IDs in the child table. Take note of these elements because these are the parts that you need to configure the file. So we're going to go ahead and cancel out of here. And I'm going to go back to the demo file for just a moment, because as you're installing this yourself, you might get stuck, okay? So feel free to have the regular file open, and I want to direct your attention to the script triggers that are on the layout. If you go to script triggers here, you'll notice that we have one on record load, one on layout exit. This one's more optional. It clears out some stored data. And then we also have on object or on mode enter. This one's important. I'm going to go ahead and set this one up first because it's relatively easy. I just need to pass a parameter that is one of the custom functions that comes in this file. So if I come over here and I go to script triggers and I go to on mode enter, I can scroll to the bottom, I can find virtual tabs. This is going to be the select panel. I'm going to paste that in there. If any of you are familiar with Nick Hunter's Launchpad file, the reason that you want to have this on mode enter is that as you toggle between find mode and browse mode or even layout mode, as you return to the browse mode, it's going to trigger the script to bring you back to the correct slide so that you don't get a confusing state of the button bar saying that you're on one and then actually being on another. That would be very confusing to the user. Additionally, I'm going to need to add 2 fields into every table that I intend to integrate this to. So I'm going to go into Manage Database here, and I'm going to add a field called Tabs Data. I'm going to create that. That is a local field, and then I'm also going to create Tabs User. Now, I would normally add a G in front of this because this one is a global field. We're going to go ahead and create that. And it's important that this one is made a global field, as this one will be user and session specific. So we're going to say OK. And in the scripts that you get with this add-on, there is one called initialize. Go ahead and open that up. There's a commented out line. And if you get the value out of here, highlight the whole thing, copy that, and this is going to be the configuration step that is necessary to make this work on each of the modules. I'm going to go to script triggers on record load. I'm going to find that script. I'm going to paste it into here. And now I need a little bit more information. We're not done, but I cheated a little bit. I've already gone ahead into all the tabs. I've taken all the names of the tabs as well as the ID from the child. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, and save myself a little bit of time here. I'm going to go back to script triggers on record load, and I'm going to edit that script parameter. Okay, and you'll notice on here, I've tried to bring attention to the parts that need to be configured. This is probably the most overwhelming part of this add-on, but don't let all of the text that's in front of you overwhelm you. A lot of this is just instructions. This is instructions. This is instructions. And this whole section right here is optional if you want to configure this for PSOS. I'm not going to focus on the PSOS configuration, but you would need to put in some sort of logic that says that PSOS is on or off. 1 is on, 0 or blank is off. For starting point, we have a global variable that says PSOS underscore functional equals yes. That we would put in here. You also need to get the ID of the layout that you would go to from the same module to find the record you're on, and you're also going to need the ID of the record you're on. If this is set to 0, the script steps will run locally, and that's how we're going to do this for right now. The next part up here is you need to tell it what those fields are that you created. So the first one is the local data field. We're going to go ahead and click on this. We're going to find tabs, data. The second one is the global field used by the user. And the next part is how many tabs are visible at one point. In the demo, as you get it, there's 4, but I'm going to show you that you can customize this later on in today's presentation. You can customize this. You can add 5, you can have 6, but you need to put the number of visible ones right here. This is the hard part right here. Okay, I'm going to paste in the name of those tabs and the IDs that I had. And I'm going to go ahead and start to build this out and explain kind of what's going on. So the first tab is a note. So I'm going to go ahead and put note right here. Now you have an optional plural option, or an optional plural choice of the word. Now most words in English, you're just going to tack an S onto. If you leave this blank, that's what it'll do. Now, some of the words, and for one of my clients, the tab was delivery or deliveries, and therefore the plural option needed to be spelled different. So for today, this is just going to be quoted out. Icon code is part of the icon integration. For now, we're going to just quote that out. Stay and watch the whole video, and you'll see later how we integrate that portion. The next part is the ID. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that ID that we have through the relationship. Same thing that comes out of our tab if you already have one. In this case, you'll notice it's a relationship from accounts to notes, and we're counting ID account. You can count a variety of choices in there. So I've just made my first tab. And so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just delete this comment off here, and I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it for contact, estimate, invoice, project, task, and let's go ahead and put those together in product. Let's go ahead and put those together. So now I'm going to go ahead and take contact here. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to take the ID. I'm going to paste that right here. And I'm going to continue. And I'm just copying and pasting it to make it easy for myself. And this is a blank copy, a starting point, unfortunately. So when I'm done, we're not going to see the numbers change too much. Almost there. We got a lot of tabs in the starting point. For my original customer that I made this for, they actually had 13 tabs, if I'm not mistaken. So this part might be overwhelming to some of you, but don't let it be. Just follow the steps, and you should be able to do this on your own. Maybe start with just a couple tabs. See that it's working for you. This right here is just an example of what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Okay, I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say OK. We're going to go to browse mode. And boom, there it goes. Now there's a couple little graphical things we might want to work with in terms of making it look perfect with our layout. But we've got it working. We've got notes, we've got contact, we've got estimate, we've got invoices. We'll notice that we have the plural option when there's more than one in there. And I can toggle to project, to task, to product, and all the way back. And if I want to go do this in contacts, it's a very similar set of steps. In fact, let's just go do it real quick. So I'm going to go into layout mode. You'll notice I've copied my steps over here. I'm going to take this, slide it out of the way. Oops. Slide it all the way over there. And I'll tell you what, to save myself even more time. I'm going to go back to accounts here. I'm going to go to manage database. I'm going to find tab. I'm going to grab those two fields. I'm going to copy them. I'm going to go to contacts. I'm going to paste them. Bam. I'm going to say OK. Oh, didn't like that. Say OK. And then over here in accounts, I'm going to grab that script parameter because what I need is relatively close to it. Copy that. Cancel. Go ahead and close accounts. Come over here to contacts. Script triggers on record load. Scroll all the way down. Find our initialize. Paste that in there. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. If you remember, on mode enter, we want to find that one. Slide panel select. My memory serves me correct. We want virtual tab. Slide selected. That's the slide that we're on. Custom function that just grabs the value out of the JSON so that you don't have to be a JSON expert. Okay. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to the script parameter. For those of you ninjas, you might realize why I wanted to copy this from accounts. Because it's got the same tabs. So I just got to change the keys out right here. And I need to come back. Let's go ahead and do this before I forget. Change this to the local one. Got the same total number here. Okay, we'll come back over here and finish this off. And as I do this, I'll chat a little bit about the part that I'm not going to show because it's just tedious and time consuming. But after you get your new tabs put in, you are going to have to go to the old tabs and copy and paste the elements or drag them even from the old tabs into the new ones. So that part can take a little bit of time. But overall, oops, did I already do estimates? Overall, it's going to be a very seamless process compared to trying to build this from scratch or even using a demo file and copying and pasting everything over. The add-on installation that I give you there makes it really easy to just make this work. Okay, we're going to go to project, paste that in tasks. We're going to copy that. We're going to go to tasks. We're going to paste that in. There are no products here, but that, as you can tell, that still saved me some time. All right, we're going to say OK. We're going to say OK. You know what I didn't do? Drag the object on screen. Again, you can see how easy this is. And there they are. So I didn't actually ungroup them or make them sit nicely this time, but let's go do that. We're going to ungroup those. That should cause the tabs themselves to resize. They'll grow with the size of the layout, whereas these will stay at the top. And I can toggle all the way over to task, back to note, jump over to accounts, and you can see that it's working. So in the teardown, I'm going to give a better explanation of how to make the icon one work. It's basically the same installation process, but you have to add icon codes and manage the buttons a little bit better, and there's a couple more custom functions. One known bug that I'm currently working on has to do with the multi-window. Second window currently, actually look at that, it's working. I've had some issues with the multi-window, but you know what? I'm totally good at that working at the moment. Some of this is tied to, if you notice in the demo, actually, I skipped the step here of deleting something on layout exit. And I'll show you what that is. I'm a firm believer that you should clear data as we go. And so if we open the data viewer, if you don't turn that step on, that can cause other nice things to happen. You have this configuration variable. Every window that you open creates a repetition of this. That's why you see the 2, the 3, the exit, the 1. And the on-exit layout, it deletes these variables so that you're not just storing a bunch of information in RAM. I'll show that here real quick. Let me just remind myself if there's a script trigger on here. On layout exit. Nope. So just, the script is called on layout exit. Make it easy even for myself. So we're going to come back over here. We're going to edit layout mode. Script trigger, on layout exit. Scroll all the way down. Select that. Browse. Go to the other module that we added this to. Do the same thing. Scroll all the way down. Oops, that's on mode exit. Beautiful. Okay. And then if we pull the data viewer back up, you'll see we've got 3 of these right now. And if I go ahead and just go back to home here, boom, that one got cleared out. So that's the benefit to it. But if I'm not mistaken, and we'll do this live, because why not? Let's open a second window. And nope, it's working. All right, well, I was working on this before the presentation, and someone might edit this out, because yeah, this works great with multi-window, multi-module. And here's the thing, if you didn't pick up on it, same scripts, same custom functions. The only part you need to remember to customize is the script triggers on each layout that you add this into. And the main part is this configuration, which, again, I give you the parameter in the script. You need to create these 2 fields. You need to indicate how many visible tabs there are. And then you need to construct the tabs in this form that you have here. If you're good at following instructions and the pattern that's in front of you, this shouldn't be too difficult. And let me show you what it takes to go ahead and customize this further. And this is something I thought of actually just before the meeting. So this is not super beautiful, but I was trying to figure out how to explain what's going on. And we can also play around with this demo file and kind of show you everything. So this on the left, let's go ahead and make this smaller so it's not overwhelming to look at. This on the left right here is that configuration script that I was just showing everybody. So again, the main things are to put your fields that you have to create. One of those needs to be a global, and it says it right in the name, and the other one shouldn't be a global. Use 4 on this number, but if you look at the tabs, and we're going to tear them down in a moment here, you'll see that it's not that hard to go ahead and add 5, 6, however many you want. But as Nick pointed out, this is really great for the iPads, and so you actually might want a smaller number of maximum visible tabs and have the rest of them toggable to. This next part is probably the hardest part. Let me go and scroll there. And that is, let's see if I can make this wider. That's not going to get wider. This is where you go ahead and put those tabs in. So the note and then the portal ID. Thought this would resize on us, but it's not going to. And then you can ignore the P sauce. So when you put that configuration step in, what it does is it puts all of those things into a custom function, and this is what the output looks like. And as Nick said, sometimes reading the JSON can be a little bit overwhelming. There's a couple things going on in this configuration step. All of this right here is the tab information displayed a little bit clearer underneath it. But then we're sending some very useful information to the script. That is, what is the name of the field, the global field? What is the name of the data field? And then some other information. Some of these are PSOS related. But then what's the maximum number of tabs? So that's all that information you saw. It gets encoded into here. And then when it calls the main script, what it outputs is this array that you see right here. So in this example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible tabs, and it says that up here. The last tab is number 6, and the max tabs is the maximum visible at one time. So let me open a second window right here so you can see what it's looking at. There we go. So there's the 4 visible tabs at one time, and there's the 5th and 6th maximum tab. Okay, and so if we come over here, you'll see that we start with note, contact, estimate, purchase order, invoice, and task. And that's what we have over here. Notes, contact, estimate, purchase order, invoice, and task. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to configure this in a moment. Let's go ahead and reload this record. All right, so then over here, so this is what you're going to see in that local field. And there's a custom function that'll actually show you this information as well as tell you the field name. Below it is the user data. This is the position that the user is on the tab. So I've actually got those toggle arrows right here. You'll see that we have this adjustment value of 0. That means they're in the starting position over here, okay? They're not looking at the additional 4. We see the first 4. And we've got a couple custom functions that tell us that information. We can see that our minimum is 1 and our max is 0. What does that mean? That means that this button right here should show as grayed out, whereas this one should show us the blue. But when we toggle all the way to the end, that one goes to a 1 and 0. These are the custom functions that go in on those buttons to make them hide or show as that color. I can go up here and I can change the tab that I'm on, and you'll see that purchase orders. Whereas if I go to 1, I'm on estimates. Now as I toggle this, that changes to reflect it. Let me show you that over here. When you go to notes and you toggle to the right, you need notes to shift off of the screen and contacts to come up, but it wouldn't make sense to continue to show notes. You actually need to shift what the person is visibly seeing. And so that's what all of these different pieces of data kind of give us. Where is that adjustment? What slide are we on? And the big thing that is really driving this is knowing the names of the fields that store this information. And if you go into your data viewer in this file, or once you install it, and you type VT _, you're going to see all the custom functions that come with it. And again, these are what tell you different pieces of information. For example, which slide am I currently selected on? I think that's up at the top here. Number 2. The other thing I might want to know is what is the name of the field that's storing that data? Virtual tab, data tab, field name. Now, as I think it was Moki that asked it, yes, each module that you go into, you need to add these different fields. And what's cool, and I wish I could show it in starting point right now, is as you jump from module to module, that custom function will show you the correct field for the module that you're in. The other thing I brought up yesterday is that having multiple windows for this can be tricky. There is a single global variable that is created in this file to track certain information. That's this one right here. It tells us 2 things. What is the field's name? Or what are the 2 fields' name? And when you open a different window, what it does is it creates different repetitions of that global variable. So each repetition of the variable can track the user's different states and the different records that they're in. But as you jump to different modules, this will reconfigure to show what module you are in. So if I were in starting point, this might say accounts tab data, and if I go to contacts, it's going to say contacts tab data. So let me jump back over to this. So again, that's just some of the information that we're kind of seeing over here. It's telling us basically how to get that information. And if I want to configure this, it's not too hard. So I'm going to go back to that configuration step. And once you get your fields in, the only part you really mess with is right here. So you'll notice that tasks is the last one that I have. Well, let's go ahead and make another one. So I'm going to paste that down there. I'm going to call this projects. And we'll just say portal 7 because it's all fake. Okay. Say OK. Say OK. Go to browse. And before, tasks was our last one. Now if we go over projects is our last one. So I don't know if there's any questions on that. I'm a little bummed that the starting point on this computer isn't going to work. But that I have tested this on multiple machines. You guys shouldn't have any issues. And if you have questions about the installation, by all means, reach out to us. No questions or anything on that so far, Nick?
No.
Perfect, perfect. All right, then let's go ahead and take a look at the images part. Now, actually, there's one last thing I wanted to show on the easier part here. When you go into layout mode, again, this is based off of, if anyone's played around with Nick's launchpad file, all of the slides are numbered. Slide _1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. This was something I picked up in the lean design videos that Nick did, that rather than giving everything these unique special names, just have very basic things. Button _1, slide _1. It creates, if you will, kind of a logic that's easy to follow as you go, and then you can copy and paste from module to module. So that's what's going on there. In our button bar, we've got this custom function called virtual tab, and you just put the number of the tab. So tab 1 is 1, tab 2 is 2, so on and so forth. So if you want to add a 5th tab, just add it and call it the 5th tab. I can probably do that for you here in a moment. Similarly, they're all going to call the same script with a slight variation in the parameter. Based on the number of the button, you're going to put that here. The first one is 1, second one is 2, plus the slide adjustment value. This is how it knows how to calculate based on where you kind of are in that virtual array, if you will. The other thing that it has is the name of the button, which we're going to come back to. And also, we need to tell it which button we're actively on. And this is the old calculation, but to make it really easy for everybody, custom function. So you can go break that custom function down to see how it makes the button active. Okay. Similarly, these have conditional formatting to make them blue or gray. That's that custom function I showed you of the minimum or the maximum. One of the reasons I kind of put all of this into custom functions, it makes the portability of the code really easy. The other thing that happened is I kept changing the names of very basic JSON elements, and I'd have to go and change it in every single element. By putting everything into a singular location, it makes it really easy to adjust the code. As I had mentioned yesterday, if you want to change the way that the tabs themselves look, maybe get rid of the number or change the font, there's one custom function in here called virtual tab display data. And if I want to change the size of the text here from 22 to 28, I can do that, and it trickles down to all of the objects. So I just made the number on there larger. Similarly, I could go back in there and I can get rid of the number if I really wanted to. Though, if I got rid of the number, I would do more changes. I'm not going to get rid of that right now, because part of this is actually going and getting those counts. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on under the hood in terms of getting these to highlight and also to shift over. The only configurable part when you put this into your file is that script parameter. You don't have to change any of these scripts. All of them call the same one, because that config script, it calls this one and passes that down the line. That's one of the things I really like too about those custom functions. Now let's go ahead and let's see if I can show the virtual tab up here. So again, if I put that 1 or 2 in here, that's that custom function driving the process down here. So I can put a different number in. So again, this 4 right here that you see is reflective of that 1 or that 2 or that 3. And I will show here really quickly if I wanted to go ahead and add another button. So let's go to the 4th one. I'm going to add that. I'm going to make it a 5. Kind of doing this on the spot. So let's see, I've already gotten a little egg on my face today. Virtual tab select, very similar to Nick's slide bar navigation, just a little bit of changes to it. We're going to come over here, we're going to get button 4. Come over here and call it button 5. But what's important is that I go to the configuration script and I change the maximum number up here to 5. Go to browse, and now we can show all 5 of those. So you can see it's really easy to add buttons or remove them from this. You just need to follow the logic that you see in the existing buttons. That is what is in the name here, what is in the script parameter, the same script. Make sure you name the button. And also, of course, you need to have a slide that corresponds to it. So all of the slides have the same number for the buttons that I have above. So go ahead and close that. And barring any questions, let me go ahead and jump into the icon one. Now, I want to give a little disclaimer. I updated the icon one a couple weeks ago, and then I got busy on some project work. Last time when I was testing this, I found a couple bugs. I fixed those bugs, but I would not be surprised if someone could find some ways to break the icon one. So it works as is, and I don't think there's any major issues with it, but just be aware of that. So I'm going to knock this number back down. And let's go take a look at what's going on here, because I think a lot of us very much like icons, and so this is probably really cool to see the icons. This uses, in part, a trick that I saw from Tide Geist on like Twitter some years ago that's pretty interesting. So all of the scripts are the same. There are a couple differences here. The first difference is in the configuration script up here, we give a code to the icon. So notes gets icon number 1, contacts gets icon number 2, and you can see this number continue so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that. And the main difference here is that when we click on a button, it has Nick's logic of button _1, but then I add a period and the icon code. So notes with the pencil is icon code 1. So we're on button 1, icon 1. If I come over to this, I'm on button 2, icon 1. Can anyone guess what this one would be? Button 3, icon 1. Over here, we're on button 1, icon 2. So this one is a little bit harder to follow. And if you want to use the demo I have, if you change one of these icons, make sure you change the rest. If you add one, just make sure that you have all of the options available. Right now, this is kind of on a cascading scale, meaning if you put button icon 7 for notes, you might see some little issues there. But let's go take a look at it. So we've got notes, contacts, and again, one of the things that was trickiest on this, if I click on tasks and I toggle back, and you'll see the portal number there change, I would expect that it's going to push me back over, and if I'm all the way in the beginning, it should push me over. But if I'm in the middle, it really shouldn't. I should just stay on the slide and the button segment that it's displaying. That's what makes the most sense. Okay. Now, again, this is pretty easy to configure. If I want to go back here, go to script triggers, then I can actually change the icon codes, or I could add a button or a slide, I should say, or remove it. So what we're going to do here is just a quick little test. We're going to change the icon code for notes and contacts. So this won't make as much sense, but you can see kind of how the configuration works here. So if we toggle back, notes is now the little dude, or the 3 people, and contacts is the pencil here. And as I shift, contacts remains with the pencil. So with this one, as you build it, you need to make sure that you add that code here. Now, there's another element to the icons that also makes this a little trickier. And that is, as you can tell, between this layout and the one before it, this one's got 4 or 5 buttons now. Pretty easy to kind of mentally track what's going on in your head, and nothing has to hide. Those buttons always show. But over here, we need to hide the buttons that don't make sense. So again, to make this easy for everybody, I've got another custom function for you. And that custom function is virtual tabs hide button. And if you notice something here, the name corresponds to the button name and icon code. So button 1.1 has a hide calculation of 1 and 1. If we go over to this one, button 3.1, the corresponding hide is 3.1. So again, there's a pattern in here that if you can follow it, it all should come together. But in terms of playing and testing with this demo, I'd highly suggest starting with the one without the icons and start to get an idea of what's going on. And the main principle here is that as you change records, look at this JSON up here. You're going to see these numbers change ever so slightly. So the count for notes, as I go from record to record, it changes. And then this over here tracks the position of the user on where they are. And if I had multiple modules in the demo, I can show you that I can actually keep a user on multiple buttons, on multiple windows, and jump around, and it all just works. Similarly, you can see that kind of over here. See if I can get this to fit nicely. So as the user changes records, on record load sends this configuration encoded as JSON to another custom function that builds the array. And that's why I'm trying to get this all to display here. As I jump records, watch that count right here change. Oops, gotta get back. 1, 0, 1, and you can see the counts underneath it are changing as well. So this configuration basically recalls that array, and then over here I can put the user into a specific tab/slide like 2, and whoops, and that's going to show right here. Oh, it didn't refresh. Where's my little refresh button? Oh, it might be confused in the background. And then this will move it over. I'm not sure why this layout's kind of funky. There we go. So you can see I can start on 1 with contacts or notes, and when I toggle that over, it'll go to the contacts one. And again, kind of graying out. So the main parts of this are really the custom function that configures everything, and the custom function that initializes it or outputs it into the JSON. Then inside of each of the objects, I've got a custom function that more or less displays the data that we want and tells the user where to go. I'm going to guess so far, Nick, no questions there?
No, monitoring YouTube, and we have Twitch, nothing coming up. I think people are, they appreciate the design and their, but it's a little bit complicated for many of people here. But it's normal because here you combine a lot of things that you need to learn before you get there. But you said that you don't need to learn about that. You need to use the thing. You just drop the add-on, right?
Exactly. I figured yesterday as I was going through the basics of Virtualist, everyone was kind of, or not everyone, many people were jumping to the deep end. So I wanted to do a teardown of what's going on. But my sense is a lot of people aren't super savvy with JSON, and there's a lot of complicated components. So exactly what you said there, you can drop this in and make it work without knowing how it's working under the hood. And that's to me the ultimate goal. And so in that configuration script, if you take this and copy and paste it, it's kind of holding your hand as to what you need to input to make it work, which are 2 fields, the maximum number, and then also the tab information. This right here is probably going to be the hardest thing for someone to rebuild, and that's part of the reason that this thing comes with a demo, so that you can see what the finished version of that would look like. And so the main thing people can get out of here is if you go to the script triggers and go to on record load and go to the parameter here, look at this section in here and how it's configured. I think David Angel was asking what the N is in the virtual list. That's just a serial number that counts from 1 up to however many numbers. So it starts at 1, 2, 3.
Can we imagine if we work together on this and we can maybe add kind of a configurators, kind of a panel where we can configure the name and everything, and so we don't have to touch the code.
Oh, I like that. Just have something on screen where you put that in.
Yeah, we can have you have a table. You can create a table or whatever. I don't know, where we can pretty much edit some fields, and you put the names of the tabs you want. So this is layout based, right? It's a one context, right?
Module, yeah. So accounts, contacts.
So for each one, I need to drag this, right?
Correct. I can almost jump to my other machine, but if we were back in starting point, let me just minimize this for a moment. Exactly what Nick just said there. If I wanted to add this into so in accounts, you install the add-on one time and then you drag it into accounts. If I wanted to go add this to contacts, then I would need to go into contacts, add the 2 fields, go into layout mode, make room for it, and then just drag it on screen again. So I guess you're kind of right, Nick, in that it is actually more layout based, but you need to have those 2 fields in every module or every table that you would add it to.
Yeah, I mean, it's context based. That's what you mean.
Yes.
I mean, if I have here, I'm in TO5 contacts. So that means if I have 10 layouts with TO5 contacts, I don't need to redrag it, right? I just copy paste the same.
Absolutely.
Okay, but I can customize the name as well for each layout that point to the TO5.
Exactly. You could go into that script parameter and change whatever you want those inputs to be.
So that's why I was thinking maybe we can make that editable in kind of a little gear icon somewhere, and you can, that you show up only when you're on layout mode or whatever, or when you are a full screen admin or whatever, because I think people will get scared a little bit to go and edit the code, it's okay. We can work that on together. So let me see if we have any questions. The quicker is the web viewer trick. Yeah, okay. The quicker and the easier set HTML. Perhaps HTML add-on. Okay, so we don't have any question here.
Yeah, Nick, just what you're saying there, actually, and I'll show this to you if we have a meeting on it. Todd Geis, for his add-on, did very much what you're talking about. There's a gear wheel that pulls up a window. Granted, it's a web viewer, and you select a field out of the table, and that's what configures it. I haven't quite gone to that lengths, but I agree that the one part in here that might be off-putting to someone is trying to go into the calculation engine and add those fields. But for the low cost of free.
Sure. But we can work on this. I don't think it won't make a big difference if we add an extra global somewhere. When you drag it in the context, we have an extra global, and inside this global we can initiate the code and then get a UI that let us kind of edit the code. We can do something. We try to work on something here.
And P-Brain Pete was asked how long this took to build. It's hard to put it into exact hours. So like my last add-on, this started because I had a client, I think I showed you guys this yesterday, who had this need. And you know what, I'll show this real quick. Who had this need, and I don't know how many hours I spent on that. It actually started off as many little things that worked into this. And by the time I made it for them, I thought to myself, this is actually really cool. In fact, I think I can use this on a bunch of other projects. And if I can use this on other projects, how do I make it as easy to install as possible? So that's when, on my evenings, watching movies after dinner, working sometimes really late, I sat on my computer. But it was definitely not like a 2-hour venture. It was a lot of invested hours, and you make something and then you just keep going back over it again and again and again. Jake, who's probably in there right now, he actually sent me over a file that's pretty cool, And when he sent it to me, and it was good, what he did was very good. But I told him, I said, I can't even tell you exactly what to do to make this look nicer. But if I were you, just go back over this again and see what little things you can find to improve it. And he sent me an updated version of that I think we're going to show off on one of the Dead Bird Fridays, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to get that file over to Richard. So this client right here, whoever it was that asked about the multiple fields, if I go to Manage Database and I go to Tabs, there's Tabs Data. I'm in the table locations, and then G underscore somewhere in here is Tabs User or User Tabs. There it is, Tabs User. If I jump over to the Accounts table, same thing, Tabs Data, and then somewhere in here G User Tab. There it is, Tab User. So each of those tables I had to add it in. So initially this client really kind of paid for the starting of this, and I spent a couple days kind of really hammering it out for them. And as Nick pointed out, in terms of an iPad layouts, that was exactly what was going on. This client has about 13 tabs. Maybe I can consolidate some of those, but we needed a way for them to be able to display those on an iPad and very well add things, since locations is the hub of how their database kind of works.
Mm-hmm. So this is interesting, because when you don't have another solution but have a vertical or horizontal tabs, this is the best way to proceed the thing. We are going to talk about this when I'm going to do the week. I don't know when it is in the future, in 2 weeks I think. I have a full week of how to design solution for iOS. iPhone, iPad. We are going to talk about this. It will be a full session, and actually I counted on everything I'm going to demonstrate and explain. It is worth it, something like $5,000 course. If you want to go outside and learn what you're going to learn during that course, this is what you have to pay pretty much. I checked different other courses about iOS design and iPad, iPhone. Not FileMaker, right? Just about design, right? This is what it costs, and so I'm going to talk about this and see what solution we have. But this is great, Kristian. Yeah. So we don't have do we have another question here? A lot of make web viewer. Very good. Okay. So no questions.
So just a couple points. In terms of the I wish I could have shown you guys how this works. I should have tested this on this machine first. Make sure that your version of FileMaker is above the 1901. So the add-ons is a brand new technology, and there are known bugs. I said and follow the forums. The issue that I had here is that some of the custom functions, especially the ones that reference each other, in the first version of 19, that could break. It didn't like recursive functions either. You needed to use the while loop. But in 1902 and 1903, they've actually fixed this issue. So if you're looking to install this or other add-ons into your file, make sure you've updated your FileMaker ahead of time. And another little kind of just teaser, if you will, is I can't say any dates on this, but as everyone's probably aware, I'm kind of like I don't want to give it a title. I'm becoming kind of our add-on person. And so the next thing that I'm currently experimenting with, I'm going to call it whole file add-ons. But I think that this add-on tool is really cool for adding the JavaScript. I think it's really cool for adding basic layout objects like the virtual menus or the virtual tabs. But I think this tool actually has a lot more potential than that meets the eyes. And so I'm currently experimenting with something, and I'm going to be getting together with Nick because it involves his Launchpad file as well as starting point. So hopefully something to come on that. But unless there's other questions, I think that's pretty good. Or 19.1.3. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So there's people talking about this future course that we are going to have on the iOS. It's a big deal. But if you want to have kind of a understanding about what we are going to talk about, I suggest that you go to the former starter solution that we had before 18. When did they remove in 19, right? the starter solution, they got removed in 19. Okay, so in 18, if you have 18 open, and you need to install in your device like iPhone or iPad, you need to install the following: event management, projects, and invoices. Because I'm going to use those free starter solutions for the demonstration. Believe it or not, those solutions are 15 years old, and I'm going to use them for a demo in 2020. Okay, so it's 10 years old, and so that to prove that how advanced they were. Yes, you can install. You can. Scott can ask. You find the starter solution in FileMaker Pro 18, and you can install them in FileMaker Go 19 or whatever. Okay, no problem. So, but they are in FileMaker Pro 18, the starter solution. Then you install them in your Go or FileMaker Go for iPhone and iPad, and you play with them, and then you will see what you can play and see what I'm going to explain. iOS is very special, and it needs you to be ready for that. So, okay, so I think we can land the USS Enterprise today, Kristian. So, good job on this. So you don't have a third day, right? That's the last day.
I'm back to customer work.
Okay, yeah. You see when you do. Imagine when I do them every day. The session like this, it's kind of time consuming, huh? So, okay, so thank you everybody. Thank you for being here every day. This is our reward. You know, each time you go, you come here and we see you coming every day or every other day like this. That's extremely great. We love it. We love you guys, and so I hope you will be there tomorrow. And so we're good to go. Thank you, Kristian. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Trying to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap. Stands in, throws it left for Amendola. Reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10. Rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.